Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to create backend of our application in Node.js. And for that, you just need to create one folder backend. In that folder, open the Visual Studio Code, and then you need to install npm init minus hyphen hyphen y for creating the package.json. You need to install the express. You need to install the nodemon. In the nodemon you need to use hyphen hyphen save and hyphen dev, so that inside the dev dependency the nodemon will come. So why we are using nodemon? So that whenever we are doing some changes, it is automatically going to change in the server. We need not to restart the server again and again after doing the changes. And then you need to install the mongoose for database mongodb, and then you need to install the Ceros. So when you are using the API calls, then when you are updating something inside the database, then Ceros error will come. So to rectify that error, we need to install the Ceros package, and then you need to use the .env if you want to use the .env file. Right? After that, I'm using the MVC model. So I am using the controller, models, and the roots folder over here. So let's go to the index.js file. So inside the index.js file, this is my code. So I'm using required.env so that I can use the env variables, env environment variables, and then I'm using express. So const express require express, and then there is a router from the express I'm using, and then there is a roots. Roots is what? Roots is nothing, but inside the folder roots there is a roots.js. In that I have defined all the roots which is required for the CRUD operation. So I'm doing all the CRUD operation here. And then you are using the roots. Since the roots is just a one inside the roots.js, you are writing module.exports, and it is able to identify this function. And then when you're going to go to the index.js, there's a roots variable, and then there's a URL port. So I'm getting the URL port from the env, so I'm using 7000. So if the env file is not working or some port is not there, so it may use the 6010 port also. And I'm using the variable app where I'm storing the express, and then there's a Ceros. I'm using Ceros also. I'm use Ceros also for using the Ceros. And then there is a use express.json. So since I'm going to do the query, all the queries in the JSON format, so I'm using express.json. And then there is a roots router, and I'm using router, right? So app.listen. So for creating a server, this is a basic port at which it's going to listen. So it'll give me where it is listening. So app.listen will come when your server starts. Right. So now our second folder is roots. So roots, inside the roots, there's a roots.js, and inside it, there is a default part. So it's going to go inside the controllers. Controllers is nothing where I have defined all the CRUD operation functions. So this is a default function. So once it is started, it'll say just yippee backend is started when there is a no table has been selected. And then you'll go to the roots, and if it's a get task, if you want to get hold the task which is listed down inside the database in the MongoDB, so then it'll give you inside the text to do all the tasks it's going to give you. And then there is a add tasks function. So whenever you are going to call the post, so when you want to add something, add new task in it, so it's going to call the add task function. When you're going to delete something, so from the query string, it's going to get the ID, and that ID I'm going to use for deleting the task. And also same for the update task. When there is a put call, and then it's going to get the ID, and according to the ID it's going to update the task. right? Now let's go to the controllers function. So inside the controllers function, this is a default function. So if there is no table is selected, so then this default function will come, and then there is a get task. So get task will come when there is a task to do inside the URL. And then in the get task, if you see, I'm using the find function, and it's going to give me all the tasks which is inside the database. When I'm using the add task, in the add task is going to get the body of the task name which you want to add, and then it's going to add by using the save function. And if you want to delete the task, it's going to in the in inside the query, if you'll see, there is a colon id. So in the colon id, you will going to get this param id, and then according to that id, it's going to delete that particular task. And then in the update task, if you'll see, in the update task also there is a params. So you'll going to get this param id, and then according to that id, it's going to update the task by using the function find one and replace function, right? So this is what I have written. Right now, this task is what? This task is nothing but a model. So task which is connected with the mongoose database. So you have already installed the mongoose, so you can do the connection in this way. So here in the process.env file, I have created one env file. Inside it, there is a port and there is a database, and the database connection which we already created should come here. So from this database is going to connect it with it inside the task.js. Right. So now let's check whether it's working or not. So I'm going to start the npm start. Why I'm able to use the npm start? Because in the package.json, I've already used this line start node-mod index.js so that I can start my npm. Now my node is started and is listening on the 7000 port. So I'm go on the 7000 port. If you will write only the 7000, you're able to see the AP backend started. And if you're going to write the table name, so task to do, so it's going to give you all the task which is available in the database. So if you can do all the functions inside by using the postman also. So inside the postman, there is a API request method which you can use. So get, if you are using, and if you are using the HTTP localhost 7000 and the table name, if you're going to send, so it's going to give you all the details of your database. So all the task name you are able to see here, which is inside the database right now. And then if you want to post something, so for posting you are using the post query. So inside that method, you need to go here, and inside it you need to select the JSON and the database. Anything which you want to add, you can add it here. So let's see, I want to add phone, and if I'm going to send it, so it is saying created the phone because it is there. And then if you're going to check it again in the get, so you are able to see the phone inside the database. Right. Now let's see, if you want to delete something, say I want to delete this mouse 12, so it is required the params ID. So I'm going to copy it and just paste it here to this ID, and then if you are going to send it, so it's going to delete the phone 12. So if you are again going to get the delete details of your database, the this you are able to see that mouse 12 has been deleted, right? So now in the same way, if you want to update this this instead of phone at this id, you want to put something else. So what you can do, you can just use the put, and inside the put, what do you want to change inside the put. Say if you want to write phone X3, so then if you write send, and then it is updated, and then if you're going to get the data, okay, so I need to delete it and then send. So you are able to see that this has been updated. So this is the way how you can create a simple backend for your app. Now let's see how we can do the changes in our front end. So in the front end, you need to do the changes at three places. First, at which port your database is running, your API is running, which is 7,000. So instead of 4,000, you're going to use 7,000 and you're going to save it. Then in the to do task, we have used, in place of id, we have used underscore id, which is by default generating in the mongoose. So I am just using the underscore id, and that is a object, so you need to change it into the string by using the toString function. And inside the inside the component to do.js, you need to use the underscore id to string instead of using the simple id. So these three changes we need to do inside our front end. So and then we need to build our project again. So what we need to do, we can delete this build function and then go to the terminal, and inside the terminal you need to use the npm run build. When this build folder created, you need to go and open the Netlify. Now delete this site. And you just need to deploy the same one which you have created now. Right? So now it is working on the 7,000 port, and you can see whatever the changes we have done, it's also appearing here. Okay. Thank you.